There's a reason they're no longer in your life, Leo. And it's not because you failed. It's because you outgrew what was never meant to contain your greatness. You see, the universe doesn't rip people away from us out of cruelty. It does it as an act of fierce protection. And when it comes to Leo, the protection is even more sacred. Because your heart, your fire, your light, they were never meant to be dimmed. But lately, something shifted. A person you trusted, maybe even loved, started pulling away. Conversations that used to flow became dry. Celebrations that should have been shared were suddenly met with silence. And you were left staring at a closed door wondering, did I do something wrong? But Leo, what if I told you that their absence isn't your punishment, it's your preparation? What if this heartbreak wasn't meant to break you, but to break open the part of you that forgot how to rise? Because you were never meant to beg for love, never meant to shrink for anyone, never meant to hold back your magic just to make someone else feel comfortable. You were born under the sign of royalty. And this isn't the end of your story, it's the start of your rise. Stay with me until the end, because the truth behind their exit will change how you see everything. Part 1. The silent exit was the universe's signal. They didn't storm out. They didn't slam the door. They simply faded. Quietly. Subtly. Almost like smoke slipping through your fingers. At first, it didn't seem like much. A late reply. A canceled plan. But over time, the silence grew louder. The energy shifted. You could feel it even if you couldn't explain it. You told yourself, they're just busy. They'll come back around. But deep down, something in your soul already knew they were drifting for good. Leo, the universe rarely shouts when it wants to protect you. It whispers. It rearranges. It creates distance not to punish but to protect. And that subtle separation, that emotional distance, it was a divine signal, a redirection. Because the truth is, that person was starting to take more than they gave. They didn't celebrate you the way you celebrated them. They didn't see your spirit, they only saw your usefulness. And while you kept showing up with full-hearted loyalty, they started showing up only when it was convenient. But Leo, listen carefully. You are not meant to be someone's option. You are not meant to chase closeness from someone who's running cold. The universe noticed what you refused to admit, that the connection was no longer nourishing your soul. So it stepped in. Because when a Leo starts dimming their own light just to keep a bond alive, the universe won't allow it for long. Your soul contract is too powerful, your destiny too sacred to let you settle for someone who can't walk with your flame. Life lesson. When people exit without warning, don't chase them. Watch the doors that close in silence because they often open the loudest chapters of your evolution. Part 2. You dimmed your fire, so they could stay. Leo, let's tell the truth. You knew something was off. You felt it in your chest, in your energy, in your silence. But instead of pulling away, you tried harder. You gave more. You softened your words. You shrank your dreams. You adjusted your fire so they wouldn't feel too cold standing next to you. Because that's what Leos do when they love. You protect. You hold space. You overgive. Even when you're starving for emotional warmth, you still light a fire for others to sit beside. But this time it cost you something sacred. You stopped talking about your big visions because they rolled their eyes. You started questioning your instincts because they made you feel too much. You hid your light in rooms where your brilliance used to feel at home just to avoid their discomfort. And in that silent compromise, Leo, a piece of you began to dim. Not because you're weak, but because you're loyal. Because you believed you could inspire them to rise with you. But not everyone wants to rise. Some people are afraid of your light because it exposes what they're not ready to confront in themselves. You weren't being dramatic. You weren't being too intense. You were being yourself, and they couldn't hold it. So you adjusted. Until one day, the version of you in that relationship barely resembled the real you. You became quiet where you used to roar, careful where you used to command, small where you were born to lead. And the universe couldn't let you stay like that. Life lesson. Any relationship that asks you to become less in order to keep it alive is not love, it's limitation. And Leo, you weren't born to be limited. You were born to lead. Part 3. Your growth became too much for their comfort. At some point, Leo, your light became a mirror. Not for you, but for them. A mirror that revealed everything they hadn't done. Every dream they abandoned, every version of themselves they never had the courage to become. You weren't trying to make them feel small. You were just growing, evolving, awakening. You were speaking with more clarity, taking up more space, choosing yourself in ways that once terrified you. And instead of cheering for you, they flinched. They grew distant. They joked about your ego. They said you were too much, too intense, too unrealistic. But none of it was ever really about you. It was about what your transformation triggered inside of them. When a Leo rises, people around you have two choices. Rise with you or retreat into insecurity. And this person chose retreat. Your ambition made them feel inadequate. Your confidence reminded them of their self-doubt. Your passion exposed their numbness. And instead of using your energy to rise, they tried to dim it so they wouldn't feel left behind. But Leo, your soul, didn't come here to shrink just to keep others comfortable. It came here to set wildfires of change, to inspire, to lead, to roar so loudly that others remember they were born to roar too. You didn't lose this person because you became too much. You lost them because they refused to expand with you. And that is not your burden to carry. Life lesson. Your growth will always make insecure people uncomfortable, but that's not a reason to stop growing. It's a reason to keep going. Part 4. Leo deacons who left you and why it hurts so deep. Not every Leo experiences heartbreak the same way. That's because each Leo deacon based on your birthday range carries a different emotional core, a different soul contract, a different wound, and a different kind of rise. Let's break this down. July 23rd, August 2nd. You're ruled by the sun in its purest form. Your loss likely came through someone emotionally sacred, a family member, a childhood friend, a lover you once thought would never leave. It shook your foundation. Why? Because you equate love with loyalty. You give until your tank is dry, expecting just a fraction of that warmth in return. But when they left, it didn't just feel like rejection. It felt like the sun going dark. You questioned your worth. You questioned your role. But this loss is here to teach you. You are not loved only when needed. You are loved always, starting with you. August 3rd, August 13th. You're the ambitious Leo influenced by the assertive energy of Mars. Your pain likely came through someone tied to status, admiration, or external validation. A mentor, a boss, a social figure, a friend you deeply admired. You didn't just lose a person, you lost a mirror you once measured yourself against. And for a while, it made you doubt your value. But this isn't about proving your worth to anyone. It's about learning you never had to. August 14th, August 23rd. This is the dreamer's deacon touched by the expansive energy of Jupiter. You lost someone who represented a shared vision, a co-creator, a partner in purpose, someone you thought would build the future with you, then walked away mid-blueprint, and that collapse hurt like a spiritual death. But here's the truth. What you were building was never meant to be done with borrowed hands. You needed to remember the vision came through you and only the right people can carry it forward. Life lesson. Every Leo has their version of heartbreak, but the story beneath each loss is the same. You were not abandoned. You were being refocused toward your true self and away from anything that couldn't grow with your light. Part 5. The pain was a portal to power. You didn't ask for this pain, Leo. You didn't want the sleepless nights, the endless mental reruns, the silence where there used to be presence. You would have done almost anything to avoid it, and you probably did. You tried reasoning. You tried patience. You tried staying silent so they wouldn't leave. But they left anyway. And now all that's left is the ache, the questions, the space. And here's the secret no one tells you. That space, that ache, that silence. It's a portal. It's not the void of your downfall, it's the opening to your rebirth. Because pain, when faced directly, becomes a fire that forges a new version of you. Not a weaker, guarded version, but a wiser, more luminous version, one who no longer begs to be seen. One who remembers they were always the light. Leo, you are ruled by the sun. You don't collapse, you combust. You don't disappear, you transmute. And this heartbreak, it's your soul's way of tearing off the mask of pretending, pleasing, performing, so that your most authentic self can return. And here's what you'll notice. Once you stop chasing the one who left you, begin attracting those who match your real power. Your laugh gets louder, your steps more confident, your dreams bigger, but this time you're not apologizing for them. It hurts, yes, but the hurt carved room for truth, for clarity, for people who never needed you to shrink in the first place. Life lesson: pain is not where your story ends. It's where your crown is reforged. And when Leo walks through heartbreak with courage, they don't just survive. They rise as royalty. Part 6. Now comes the return of your true radiance. Now that the silence has settled, now that their absence no longer haunts you like it did, you'll begin to feel it. The shift. It starts quietly. One morning you wake up and breathe easier. A smile finds you without force. You look in the mirror and for the first time in months, you recognize the fire behind your eyes again. That's not a coincidence, Leo, it's your radiance returning. Because once the wrong people exit, your true self doesn't just come back, it comes back stronger, clearer, unapologetic. The version of you that no longer negotiates your light to keep love. The version of you that no longer explains your joy, your ambition, your hunger for life. And guess what happens then? The right people begin to arrive. The ones who don't flinch at your fire, who don't feel insecure around your confidence, who don't shrink from your intensity but are lit up by it. These people celebrate you out loud. They support you without hesitation. They pour into you because they recognize your value, not your usefulness. New opportunities flow in. Why? Because you're no longer bending to fit where you don't belong. You're standing tall, and that height attracts destiny. Leo, your energy is magnetic when it's aligned. And when you're finally done shrinking, the universe stops withholding. It delivers. In love, in purpose, in people, in power. This is your season of rising, not in spite of who left, but because they left. Life lesson. When you stop editing your soul to keep others comfortable, you create space for those who were destined to meet your full power. And Leo, your full power isn't too much. It's exactly right for the life you were born to lead. Final part. The space they left was never empty. It was preparing you. Leo, what if their exit wasn't abandonment but alignment? What if the universe didn't take them away to hurt you, but to return you to yourself? The space they left wasn't empty. It was sacred. It was where your radiance could finally stretch again, where your dreams had room to breathe, where your soul remembered its size. And now, you rise, not bitter, not broken, but brighter, because you've seen what happens when you settle, and you've chosen never to shrink again. So if this message touched something in your heart, drop this in the comments right now. I will never dim my light again. My radiance is my destiny. Say it for yourself. Say it for the other Leos who are still healing in silence. Say it because your roar helps them remember theirs. And Leo, don't do this journey alone. Subscribe to Leo Zodiac Power because the universe isn't done speaking to you. There are deeper truths to unlock, bigger fires to ignite, wider stages waiting for your presence. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next message you were meant to hear. Because this is just the beginning of the life you were always meant to lead.